Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Commit Message podcast presented by the University of Windsor's very own Computer Science Society. I'm your host, Zain Raza, and if you're in CSS, I'm also your career advisor. Welcome to the second ever episode. We've made it past the all-important first episode, and it was very well received, honestly. I think we doubled our next most popular video. What that tells me is, people are obviously watching, people are enjoying. So let's make a permanent or at least a long-term series out of this. So here we are for the second episode, as promised, 2 weeks later. So a couple things to go over before I go into the episode. The first being, we've heard about the audio issues. I didn't really catch that in editing, believe it or not. So the audio issues are mostly fixed for this episode, and random cuts won't happen anymore, so there's that. Also, I've managed to get CSS to give me a team, so it'll be me that's recording, someone else to promote this on our LinkedIn and on our Discord, which if you're not following us on LinkedIn, or at least somehow tuned in by subscribing to the YouTube channel, or following the CSS page, or if you're in CSS, you should be in the Discord. It really helps us get reach, and if you share this, then we can help someone else that might need it too. So it's really a win-win for both of us if you share the video, or honestly if you just subscribe too. I'm trying to make this content more long-term here, and it would mean a ton if you could follow, subscribe, do whatever you can. Of course, the content will remain free though. So more on the team. We now have someone doing timestamps. I'm not sure when those will be up. Maybe they're down below. Eventually, they'll get to it. So there's more of a team aspect going around here. I'm still going to be doing the interviews, and this podcast still is in beta, so some things are like a testing-ish period. So we're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And it seems to me that we've got something figured out here about the interviews and such. So we're just going to keep going on with it. Now, about this episode. This one's all about internships. If I was a first year, I would be listening very close. Make sure you learn something from what's about to be said, especially if you go to the University of Windsor. A lot of important information that's applicable to almost every student. I'm pretty sure every student looking for a CS-related co-op or internship. And we have Usman, who's not a traditional software engineer or software developer intern. He's going to tell you more about alternative routes, how he got there, what his journey's like, and be sure to follow him on his LinkedIn. And without further ado, I'll just let Usman further introduce himself. Here we go with the second episode. And we're back. Hi, Usman.
Hi, Zane.
So,
How are you?
in case I didn't mention it enough, Usman here, he's with me, I guess, in the University of Windsor. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, right? Where are you at right now?
Currently, I'm in my third year of computer science with specialization in software engineering. I'm working at a small startup called NetInt Technologies, located in Markham. So I'm just in Scarborough, Toronto, basically. I'm down here for the week because I have a doctor's appointment. Yeah, usually I'm just over there working every day, 9 to 5.
Okay. So, you mentioned you're on a co-op term right now. How long has that been going on?
So it's an 8-month term. I already did my first 4. This is the second half, and I have until August, so 2 more months left. Not bad. Learned a lot from that one.
Okay. So, unlike Harsh beforehand, this is the first guest that I actually, I know and is my friend right now. So, how did we meet? You mind sharing?
Good. So We met in grade 11. Yeah, grade 11. It was a physics class. I remember we were doing. It was a project. It was a car. You had to make a car, and then you had to launch it off a ramp, and there was a dime. I think like some distance away from that ramp, and whoever went the furthest, they won. And Um, I remember outing you in the middle of class, and then you made a group chat with everybody else to shit on me. And then I went into that group chat, and first we're like outing each other, just like saying stuff about each other, and then after that, we like I think I like just messaged you on Snap, and you're like, "Yo, what's up?" Start talking, and ever since then, the friendship, the stories live on.
Okay, so coming out of high school, let's rewind it back to high school. What made you choose computer science, and what made you choose even the University of Windsor?
So I had two options. I had computer science and I had bio. I loved both of them equally. And I remember taking computer science with you too. I was in your we had grade 12 computer science together, sat next to each other too. Um, but the final decision that got me was I ended up talking to a couple people that were doing bio, and my main goal was pharmacy, obviously, and it was between sitting on next to a computer for the rest of my life or standing behind a counter for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
And I chose sitting down next to a computer because I like computers to begin with, so I chose that. And in
it
terms of
wasn't.
university,
It wasn't like
huh?
salary motivated or anything like that.
Honestly, no. At that time, it wasn't. Like
Okay.
I didn't even think about the salary. I just thought about standing for like 9 hours, more than 9 hours even. I don't want to do that,
Yeah. Okay. So, what
especially
did?
since pharmacists have to do that a lot. Obviously, it's not 9 hours constantly, but there's still a lot standing.
Okay. So, as for university, how do you choose?
As for university, I had again a couple options. I had Toronto that I got into. I had Wayne State, and I had here. And the reason I
What was
chose
the
here
first
was
option?
the first option was here, the second option was Toronto, third option was Wayne State.
Okay.
And I chose University of Windsor because A, it was close, super close to my house, so I wouldn't have to move. Even though everybody has like that wish to move out during that age, I didn't really care much. B, it was just a cheaper option, and I got a scholarship from here, and I didn't get one from U of T, and I missed out on the chance to get one from Wayne State. So I was like, might as well take the one that gives me a scholarship. And yeah, it was just that, and I'd be at home with my parents, home cooked meal. You know, commute wouldn't be that bad. So yeah, and back then I didn't have that much cash or any money or anything. So if I even went out, I would have to take out a loan or rely on my parents. I didn't really want to do that.
Yeah. Scary stuff, huh? So, you're entering into the University of Windsor. You're a first year student. Do you have any idea of what graduated you looks like at all? What you're
I
looking
had
at?
zero clue. I had zero clue. I was just going on the road of whatever happens, happens. I
Okay.
was going on that. I don't really care about what I'm going to see myself in like 10 years. I just care about the now.
Okay. So, you're in first year, and you've decided, you know what? I'm gonna be in the co-op program. One sec. Something popped on my screen. Okay, so you decided in your first year. Okay. Well, even before your first year, did you apply to the co-op program before you
Yeah,
did?
I applied into the, I
Okay, so
applied
you
into
decided I'm gonna do a co-op, or what's known in our university as a co-op is also an internship. So what are you expecting here when you're coming into second year? You've learned some basics from 12th grade and first year. What are we applying to? What are we thinking here?
Well, when I was in my second year and I applied, I originally just started applying to everything. Whatever job posting I could see, I applied to. But then as I went into the second round, I started narrowing it down to things that I want to do and not based more so things that I
And to be
can
clear, the
do.
year you were applying, it was actually COVID year, right? It was
Yeah.
2020, 2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So while you were applying, you just cast a wide net, and you just got whatever you could catch, right? Did you
Pretty
did
much,
it
yeah.
did the first co-op or internship you first get was it worthwhile, or did it give you relevant experience? How did you like that? What was it, and how did you like it?
First co-op that I got was an IT based co-op. Now the thing with IT is usually just hardware and hands on. So in order to do that remotely is quite the challenge because you're mostly trying to guide the person on the other end on what to do. The person on the other end doesn't know what to do. Then it makes it a very interesting challenge to try to guide them on what to do. So obviously we had some tools for that, like you could remote into the computer or whatever or whatnot. But that co-op itself, majority of the things that I did there, I already knew. Like not even from high school, not even from university. It's just basic common knowledge of being a nerd. Like dealing with monitors, dealing with hardware. All that was just common knowledge that I already knew. I didn't really learn much for that co-op. It was mainly just mostly the thing that I learned from there was probably just more like soft skills, communication stuff. Mainly working on that, broadening my problem solving skills, on strengthening them, and yeah, it was didn't really learn much there, but it wasn't a bad co-op overall.
Okay. So, and that lasted 4 months, right?
Yeah, that was a 4 month co-op.
Okay, so you've done a co-op. Is there now you've done like second year of school? You're getting into it right before. I want to talk about your next co-op. I want in the middle of this. You probably formed an opinion about the university you're going to, and maybe you got into some sort of clubs or activities. You got anything to say about that?
Well, I got into computer science. I got the CSS Society. Got into that. So I think I started off as event coordinator. Yeah, that was my position originally.
Yeah.
Um, and I did that for maybe 3 months,
Yeah.
and then the spot for head of events opened up, and I was like, you know what, I would love to be head of events and be in charge of that. Like, put me on the spot. I'll make sure to do what needs to be done. And I've been head of events since. So there's that. Yeah,
Okay.
fun. Still doing it. Not bad.
Now let's talk about your resume coming in because the next co-op or internship is the major one, right? So your resume looked pretty bare, but you had one IT co-op, right? What did you do to your resume to help make it stand out?
So I had a couple projects that we did grade 12. They were old, but I was like, you know what, we might as well just put them on. If they can still sell.
And
They
when
had
he
done some
says
stuff.
projects, he means like develop projects that he probably put on GitHub, right?
Yeah, they were on GitHub. So I
Mhm.
think one of them you know as well was the paint project that we did.
Mhm.
Grade 11? Yeah,
Yeah.
grade 11. And that's not a bad project. Like, it had pretty decent amount of stuff in there, even though we pretty much hard coded 90% of it. But
So the
still
paint
not a bad
project, for
project.
those who don't know, is we basically emulated Microsoft Paint with like a theme. So what? So for example, I did Dora the Explorer paint. Uh, so like the background was defaulted to
Yeah,
Dora. You probably did like Dragon Ball Z or something, knowing me.
yeah, I did Dragon Ball
Okay.
Z. It was pretty good. Um, so I put that on there, and then there was like this side project that honestly it wasn't even completed, like nowhere near completion. We ran into an issue, so we didn't even continue it. But me and my friend were working on it, and I put that on there. So I was like, you know what, why not? So I put a couple projects on there, and then I put computer science society. Like that itself showed quite a bit.
Okay.
Showed that I had leadership skills, showed that I had those soft skills. So that's pretty much what I used to kind of like beef up my resume.
Mhm. Okay. So we're looking at the thing that distinct like makes you distinct from probably other people who are applying is that a you already took part in like a school club or society. Doesn't matter which, it just matters that you're doing it, right? And you're not only are you doing it, you're in a leadership position. That shows initiative, right? Now when you're starting applying to like low level positions like an internship, you don't have much you can put on, right? So you're grasping at straws. What happens is that you're going to want to distinguish yourself from the other guys who have nothing. So when it becomes a battle of like this guy has very little experience versus this guy has a little less experience, but they're
Yeah,
both like this little, you have to differentiate yourself somehow, right? So doing things like this, I believe, helps. Uh, do you think it helped for
I think
your upcoming job hunt, which would come up soon?
um for my upcoming one, the current co-op that I have, I guess yeah, it did help. They did see that I had some sort of initiative and I had those soft skills, and they did look at my projects heavily. I did my
The
interview.
important thing with resumes, and I think you'll agree with me, is that the resume is a way to get to the interview, and whatever happens in the interview happens
Yes,
self-contained.
exactly.
You know, so of the interviews I've gone through and the interviews you've gone through, I wasn't I wasn't really asked like how is your role at the Computer Science Society.
Yeah, me.
That's something that someone before that screening level looks at, right?
Yeah, the
So
recruiter.
it's just I want to convey to everyone that even if it's not brought up in an interview, these kind of things like having extra involvement and stuff can help, but it's very invisible if it does help, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
it definitely gets you there.
would you agree with me in saying that applying, especially in the COVID era, it was simply a numbers game?
It was a numbers game.
Okay,
It honestly was.
so this application cycle, let's move on to it. Uh, how was it? This
Second round, I would have to say second one was
for
pretty
context, you
less
were
possible.
how many semesters into school? Like how many study semesters were you?
One, two, three, four, four,
Okay, you've done 4 semesters. You're looking
four
for
or
your
five. I was at first year was two, second year was two, five. Yeah,
where do you get the extra semester from?
first year,
Two.
yeah, second year, and then we applied in third year. But after that semester, no, I've already done one semester of third year. Five.
When you got Oh
Yeah,
right.
well, yeah,
You're right. Five
yeah,
semesters.
five semesters.
Okay, so
5 semesters. Yeah,
5 semesters. You're 5 semesters into school. You kind of think you know what you're doing, at least to some degree. You have you have some degree of thinking. Yeah, I kind of get this stuff. And this time you apply to what did you do? Because our University of Windsor has its separate co-op listing, as well as like you can look at auxiliary like internships, whether in Canada
yeah.
or in the United States. So, what was your plan regarding that?
So this time I didn't go with the approach of just throwing the net out there and whatever I catch, I catch.
Okay.
This time I had a very narrow search. I only wanted like software or something that had to do with writing code, tests, anything that related. Like wherever I was writing code in, that's what I looked for. Any IT, anything other related, like even web dev, I did not take that and I applied to. I strictly applied to software. Now, obviously, because my search was so narrow, it did make it more difficult. I had, I think, maybe twice the amount of applications than I did for some.
Okay. And would you say that having an internship in something like IT helped you realize, wow, I don't want to do IT, even even as another internship, let alone a career, and then that based your decision made you think like, well, now I want to do software development because I clearly didn't like or
Yeah,
something related to software, which we'll get to soon. Okay, so we're how many applications in and how many interviews we got before your offer, before you know of your offer.
I think I was almost 200 applications in with one interview. Yeah, and
So
that interview I landed too, but I
yeah,
denied.
okay. So you think you did well on the interview that you got denied by?
Yeah, I mean, I got that. Like, they gave me the offer for that job, but I just didn't know. That was
Okay.
the one interview I
What
had.
what position was that for?
It was Hiram Walker. It was a
Oh, right.
system related position. Yeah,
Okay. And you denied because pay maybe, or
No, it
personal
was. I
reasons?
asked my yeah. I asked when I asked my friend who had actually done that internship at co-op in our previous term. He said that it was still like in terms of IT and software, like writing code. It was more towards the IT side.
You're spoiling the next podcast guest. He asked Craig who will be in another two
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
That's
another
correct.
2 weeks to the viewers, right? Tomorrow for
Yeah.
me. Okay, so you decided basically it's not worth it, so you denied them. Okay, and now before we get actually into the offer, how much would you say your school, since everyone has no experience, affects how easy it is to get a job?
I know some people believe otherwise, but I believe that your school does help. Now, we're
Okay.
at University of Windsor, all the way down in Windsor. So it's kind of hard to get something big
Yeah.
because I feel like half the time like recruiters saw this University of Windsor and either maybe heard something bad about our computer science program, or just based on the fact that it's all the way down in Windsor, they tend to like go over that application.
Could you
That's what I believe.
could you repeat that? Yeah, your mic kind of petered out a little.
I said if when recruiters look at applications from University of Windsor, I feel like they just sweep it under the rug in terms of
Mm-hmm.
trying to even look further into that application just because it's from University.
Okay.
That's like my personal opinion.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, so now we've gone up to now let's talk about the position for which you applied to, which you eventually got accepted to. Before you get into the interview, do you remember anything about applying to that place or that position, thinking that you'd want it?
Yeah. So I remember looking at their original description, and it had to do with testing. Their description was actually very vague. So
Mm-hmm.
I just saw like a couple of stuff. I saw testing. I saw some. You'll have to write code, and more importantly, I saw Python. I was
Okay.
like, I love Python, love writing code. Don't know what any of the rest is. They had a bunch of video like related stuff because that's what I mainly do. So I didn't know any of the rest. I just saw Python. I saw some coding, some stuff that was required that I had, and I went ahead and applied for it.
Mm-hmm. So, can you tell me what the title was?
I think the title was co-op firmware engineer. It wasn't even something software related yet.
Okay. And now, how many stages was there at NetInt, right? How many
Yeah.
stages of the interview were there?
There's two stages.
Okay.
The first one was online coding. Second
Mm-hmm.
one was a video call interview.
A video, sorry, what interview?
Video interview.
A video interview. Okay. So, how were, walk me through these steps. How were they?
First one wasn't bad. It was just a coding. They gave me two coding questions. They're fairly easy. One of them was to find a bug in the code,
Yeah,
and the
without getting
second
into
one,
too many details, yeah.
yeah, I can't get it. Second one was just your regular, just an average coding question. Nothing too difficult, nothing too crazy.
Okay. And then the
And
second one?
yeah, the second one was a straight up interview, and the interview had technical questions. They looked at my resume, like I had resume questions, and then nothing behavioral. They were pretty much all just technical.
Yeah. Okay. So, you're sitting there, you've done the interview. Did you think you got the job from that interview?
Oh, no. I thought I flopped the bag. I fumbled the bag 100%. Like I was like, there is no way in hell that they're hiring me. Yeah, I did not think I landed that.
Okay. And how long were you waiting like that, thinking you didn't get it before the
I
offer?
think 2 weeks.
2 weeks of I flopped that interview. I need another interview.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. That's actually pretty funny. And
yeah.
what did you think when the offer came in?
When the offer, okay, so the way my offer came in, it was pretty weird too. Like I thought I was going in for the third round. Because that's how when I was contacted, it was originally like that's what they were implying. They told me that can you call tomorrow at 9 a.m. for a couple extra questions, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm going in for the third round. And then when I picked up the phone, I was asked, can you start in January? And I was like, oh, I was like, wait, hold on. I was like, I landed the position. He's like, yeah, we'd like to hire you. And I was like, okay then. So I was very surprised.
Sounds very typical for someone, studying at the University of Windsor with zero connections,
Yeah,
right? Would you say
exactly.
that's a typical experience of a student?
That was a very typical. Oh yeah, zero connections, not a good previous experience. Very typical.
Okay, so you're hired by your first ever, like truly technical job. I'm not saying IT isn't technical, but you're
Yeah.
reaching a little more with developing with your skill set. Was there a skill curve in your job as a firmware engineer, co-op intern?
Yeah, it definitely was. It was much more. What is it? It was more aimed towards needing to know a bunch of coding related stuff and having to be able to learn on your own too.
Okay.
It was definitely a curve.
Okay. Do you feel as though throughout this experience for the last 8 months you've become a better developer
Oh
or
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
testing?
I've gotten a bunch of feedback on like my coding skills and how I write code, how I comment code even. So I feel like I've definitely been a better developer. Like I look at some of the code that I wrote a year ago. What was that? What was that?
Yeah. Okay. So I had a conversation with you a bit earlier, and you mentioned to me that this testing thing, it might just be for you. You might not even want to go to
Yeah,
becoming a developer, which most people perceive as like a step forward. So go ahead, tell me about that.
yeah. So originally I didn't even know it was testing. First of all, when I signed up for that position, when I got that job, I was like, what the heck is firmware engineering? I didn't even know it was testing. But when I got to actually writing or doing the job, my first few tickets were just scripting. Writing scripts to test devices. And I was like, this is kind of fun. It's
Okay.
writing code and it's nothing too crazy. And as I went on and wrote more complicated code, I started liking it more and more. And now I'm like, and I obviously deal with developers too, so I know what developers are doing in
Yep.
terms of companies. I'm like, I honestly don't mind being on the testing side. It's fun because on the development side, you have features, but on the testing side, it's just straight up trying to come up with ways to break their code.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
I'm
sounds.
pretty good at doing that. So
Okay. And did they say anything about possibly a return offer after you graduate?
oh yeah, I ended up asking I recently asked my manager if he'd be interested in, come back, and he was like, once you finish your graduation, just shoot us an email, and we would love to have you back. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
So it sounds like you have it made, huh?
Yeah,
Okay, so the interview part, it it was relatively typical for a mid-sized company. Job slightly, yeah, it's definitely something you like, but there was a skill curve, and now you have a full-time offer after 8 months. Would you say to anyone watching this and trying to get internships right now, when would be the correct time to ask your boss for a full-time?
I would say definitely do it near the end of your co-op. Like I remember in the beginning, not once did I have like these one-on-one talks with my manager, but near the ending, I guess he knew too that my co-op term is ending, so he started doing these evaluations where he would just call me and we'd have one-on-one talks, how things are going, how am I liking it, what needs to be changed if I have any suggestions. So I just picked one of those calls to be the right moment to talk. But I would definitely do it near the end, not anywhere in the middle either. I feel like this is something that you truly need to do at the end because then you know what you've done, have some self reflection, you have reflection from your mentors, your managers, and then you have like a nice idea on A, if this is something you want to do, and B, if it's worth shooting the shot to ask that question.
Yep. Okay. So if you were to describe what testing is to maybe like a first year or someone who doesn't know that much, how would you describe it?
I basically describe it as trying to come up. Most simple term is trying to come up with ways to break the device or break
Okay.
whatever piece of software it is. Trying to come up with ways to make sure that you can find the bug and your customer doesn't find the bug.
Okay.
To just make sure that that thing will not break. So do whatever means of testing you can find to try to make it break beforehand.
Okay. Say I'm interested in what you're doing. I'm I want to go towards this path. Is there something I can do before the job that'll help me prepare maybe?
Yeah, I would definitely say problem solving skills. Make sure your problem solving skills and critical thinking pretty much up there because that is heavily dependent on this job. You need to be able to problem solve very well because that's mainly what it is. You're trying to figure out something new. Like trying to find a way to break somebody else's code isn't something that's going to be handed to you on a platter. Isn't something that's going to even be like you're not even going to have any hints. You're on your own in terms of figuring that out. So definitely have those problem solving skills. Definitely have some good coding skills. You'll need that. But even in terms of coding skills, like those type of skills, if they're not like up there, they'll eventually become up there.
Okay. So I have all these people come up to me, ask me for resume advice. I'm a career advisor these days, so is there something that people should look out for in general for a resume? Because I give, the standard advice: don't put your address in, keep it to one page. If you're going for an internship, put your education at the top, and then like whatever experience you have, and then skills. Is there something that's like maybe you've seen in someone's resume that's very glaring, and you'd say like, never do this? Common mistake, if you will.
Common mistake. I would say like some people like color, but I feel like adding color to your resume isn't the best option
Okay.
because yeah, sometimes it's okay, but from what I've noticed, a lot of the recruiters like black and white is just that's a good deal.
Okay.
It's a safe play.
Okay.
I
Keep it
feel like
safe.
color would be one of them. Yeah, keep it safe. Um, yeah. Other than that, I don't think I can think of any other common mistakes.
The only thing I can think of is like people go too hard on the design, like you're saying, like then it
But
doesn't
that,
parse
yeah,
correctly by the websites. So
I never parses correctly. So
so yeah, that's an issue, and that's just to say like your resume doesn't have to be perfect. Like Usman just said, like his definitely doesn't parse correctly. It doesn't, as long as he keeps going and fixes up whatever's wrong. You don't want to have wrong stuff on the website or whatever applicant portal you're using. As long as you
yeah,
shore up your mistakes, and keep applying, you should eventually get something, right? Is that the idea?
that is the idea. You should eventually land something. You just gotta have that one recruiter give you that chance.
Okay, so now
Good.
I need to hear your takes on some things, all right? So
Okay.
there's typically when you're talking to computer science students, they all talk about FANG, manga, whatever acronym they're talking about, right? So what do you think about like what's the best type of company to intern for? Would you say small company, mid-sized company, or the elite FANG jobs?
Like it depends on where you're at in terms of your university. If you're just starting, you can shoot your shots at the big companies, but like unless you're truly skilled or unless you're at some well-known university, I feel like it's very, very hard to land something big. Still possible, obviously. It requires effort. But personally, I would say go for like the smaller and the mid-sized one in the beginning. Get them under your belt, and then you like rack one or two of them under your belt, and you go for the big one. Hopefully, you land the big one.
Yeah. So what I was thinking along this is that, well, first off, it's gonna be very hard. Like, I'm sure there's students every year. They just don't like talking about it. They want to apply. They apply to like the big companies, like Amazon, Google, Facebook.
Yeah,
They do their applications for those. They'll be like, all right, that's it. Uh, I'll see you guys next application term. Nothing comes back, and then they're sitting at home, thinking, wow, that sucks. So definitely don't do that, especially if,
yeah.
especially if you can't, especially if you don't have much, it's like at all. Honestly, for your first, or and even maybe your second, depending on what your first was, like don't just exclusively only do like huge companies. Expect to be rejected, especially if you're not like if you're not something very significant, right? Like you're from maybe like the University of Windsor or equivalently smaller school. You don't have that great of a skill set. You have nothing discernible on your resume, is what I'm saying, right? So yeah, that. So also, I've seen some other students have other approaches to internships. Some do 5, others do like 1 or 2. What do you think? Because obviously, an internship, it like delays your graduation a little. Everyone likes to forget a little bit that
Yeah,
yeah, you graduate a little bit later most of the time when you take on internships. So, how important is it to like actually graduate? Would you say? How many
I would
internships?
say
How many internships would you say is like optimal?
I feel like the way we have it right now with three is pretty nice. 3 internships, I feel like that's enough to land some experience. But again, if you don't care about when you graduate, like me, I personally, if I graduate a couple like 2 years late, I don't care, right? So
Okay.
definitely, if I plan on doing that, I'm gonna try to land more internships and more because the more experience, the better.
Okay.
The more you have on that resume, the better your chances are at landing even something big.
Right.
But I would say three definitely to be the best.
Right. So, do you think, let's say, like 5 or 6 is delaying your graduation too far, or is it just a preference kind of thing? Because as we know, like internships like pay a lot less than what a full time junior developer
Uh,
does. Right.
yeah, I feel like if you're doing 5 to 6, now you're kind of delaying it. If you're
Okay.
doing like, I mean, like even like 4 or 5, like that's fine. But once you go into like the 6, 5, 6, those at that point you're making money. Yeah, you're getting that experience. But you could also use those first 3 internships that you got, especially if they're good. Maybe land something full time and finish up graduating instead of continuously doing internships.
Okay. Uh, yeah. I mean, I would probably agree with you here. Uh, it is it is an interesting like phenomenon because of people who do get internships, some people decide I'm just gonna spread my wings, see what I like, dislike,
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, definitely, I would say roughly 3 is probably your golden number. Uh, and when I say 3, I mean probably I'm gonna assume your first one wasn't really something that you wanted to get. What I see typically from co-op internships is that your other two, or whatever, like if you took 2, then your other one, anything past your first is typically more in line with what you want to do. So I'd say
yeah,
like the true number actually is probably like 2 internships of which their experience is relevant to you. You know. So
yeah.
yeah, that's a fair number to say. Okay, so interning in the United States. I hear a lot about this. What do you think?
Honestly, I even looked into it, tried to do that. Um, it's doable if you land something. I say go for it because it's a much better option than interning here.
Yeah,
More
so
benefits there.
yeah, so if anyone doesn't know, if you land in the coastal elite areas, I guess, so that would be the Bay Area in the West Coast and New York in the East Coast, you get paid like what, twice minimum?
Was
Twice minimum what we get
quite a
paid.
bit.
And that's not even adjusting for the currency, right? Just straight up the
Yeah,
numbers are doubled. And that's just starting,
thing.
right?
Yeah, that's just starting. Go up that ladder and you're chilling.
But then again, to be 100% with you, if you thought getting an internship by itself was hard enough in your country,
Oh yeah. In the States it's double
yeah,
the work. It's the chances are so slim.
yeah, you gotta pray for. I mean, if you have a connection, that's something else. But like,
Yeah, I feel like if you have connection, if you have that dual citizenship even, you're a bit
yeah,
better
if
off.
you have a dual citizenship, I would
Yeah,
just probably just 90% in the states, right?
yeah. But if you don't have any of that, then chances are very slim.
Oh, I forgot to mention, we've seen people graduate and get jobs without any internships. Like
Yeah,
does it call into question? Do you think like how important internships really are? Maybe the degree is like what's really the thing that matters.
I feel like internships are just for yourself. Like at the end of the day, they help, definitely help. Yeah, they definitely help. But you could have that chance that somebody's gonna look at your resume. They're gonna see that you've graduated from this degree. Even if you have no experience, they'll hire you.
Mm-hmm.
There are employers, there are recruiters out there that do that.
Mm-hmm.
But thing is, do you want to do zero internships and end up at a company that you might not like of what like for what you're doing, or would you rather do a couple internships, figure out what you like, get some experience, and then go at it? No, I feel like that's the better route. Like, yeah,
Right.
you can do zero, you can just chill, get your graduation done early, and there are chances you can land something. Possible, especially if you have connections. Definitely possible. But
Right.
again, you might be doing something you hate.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on the whole remote versus in person debate we got going on these days?
So I've done both now. And for
Yeah.
me, I honestly like in person better, especially since my office is so nice. It's a
Okay.
very nice office. The lab's very nice. Um, so yeah, I kind of like in person better. It's more fun to you make more connections there. Like I'll just pull up to the office and I'll have somebody working there with me, and we just have a short conversation. That's not something you're gonna get from your house.
Do you
Also, yeah,
do you like the like separation from like because when you're sitting at home, right? Like I can even show you. Like I have my work over there, and then my like computer where I do everything else on here. Like there's
yeah,
not that much of a separation, right? Is
yeah,
the separation kind of what you're looking for too? How big is
yeah.
that?
Because it's big. Like when you're at home, you're pretty much you're working, but like if somebody calls you, you're distracted immediately. If something happens, you're distracted immediately. On top of that, like personally, when I'm working from home, I get lazy in a second. Like I'll look at a ticket or I'll look at something I'm doing, and I'll be like,
Let's just pray
yeah,
your
this
boss
can
doesn't
wait.
hear this.
Yeah, that's just it's okay. I actually do my work. So yeah, but when I'm in the office, you're there and you have that mindset that I'm here to work. You work, and you don't get distracted. And especially if you like your work, then get lost in your work.
Do you feel it's kind of restricting working in like it's because like most people work in a room, right? Like
Yeah,
you're not usually moving that much, and don't typically go outside that much either. But an office kind of forces you to do all that. How do you think do you think that plays a bigger role or
no, I think that's
okay? You like the inside? Would you describe yourself like as a grinder, like someone who like works?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, definitely.
putting in the work.
I'm a workaholic, so yeah.
Okay. So yeah, to be fair, that is the opinion of a workaholic. So take with that what you will. Just kidding. Okay. Uh, do you have like any like thoughts on like if hybrid is better or remote is better or in person is better?
I feel like hybrid is actually not bad. Like you have a little bit of in person and you have a little bit of remote. Get a
Yeah.
little bit of both, and they're both interesting. Like I know that if I go into office the entire week, I hate it. Like because then it's an entire week of commute and it's an entire week of being in the office.
Yeah.
I occasionally just like to just be at home where I'm in my own place and just work.
Yeah, especially if
I like hybrid a lot.
live in like these areas in Ontario that aren't near big offices, aka like
Oh yeah,
Toronto and Kitchener Waterloo area. And not to say anything, even like Vancouver, right? That's another huge one, right? These kind of three-ish areas. There's more, I'm guessing, but these are the areas I see the most like positions around. If you're not in these areas, like it the fee the rent, the food, everything adds up really fast. How much would you say like if you're working in person, like what percentage of like your total income should be spent on rent?
for me, like personally, for mine, it's about a third almost.
Okay.
I feel like it should be around there. If you're
Are you
spending
comfortable
anything
around a
more,
third?
yeah, I'm okay with around it. You have 2/3 spent to yourself or save up or whatever. But I feel like if it's anything more, like if you're doing 50% of your pay is going towards rent, now it's not worth it. I personally feel like, yeah, that's just too much.
So you're kind of juggling your main house from in Windsor and the
Yeah,
house you have out in Markham is where you work, right?
yeah.
So does it like bother you at all that you have to constantly make these like weekend or second weekend or third weekend commutes back and forth?
It's not too bad. Like for me, it's just 4 hours. Sometimes I'll drive home. Sometimes I'll catch the train home. It hasn't bothered me yet. It hasn't bothered me that much. Fine, I don't really mind. But I know for some people, it is a pain driving all the way home just for like what 3 days, and going back. I think the only thing that I've pretty much been bothered with is that, especially like if you have your own setup there, like I have my own setup there, I have everything there now.
Yeah.
Right here, there's nothing except for my family, of course. But everything else is there. So coming back, you're like, now I gotta live a couple days without all that. So you have to kind of like adjust to that, and sometimes it's an annoyance, especially if you have a super slow laptop like I do. Um, yeah, sometimes it's an annoyance, but other than that, it's not too bad. Nothing crazy.
Would you say that without getting into specifics, well, what we you're called a firmware engineer at your company, but would you also be okay? Like, does the the title automation developer,
Yeah, yeah,
automation
yeah.
test developer, like yeah, would you say that internship pays enough for you comfortably in general? That job pays you enough to be in the Greater Toronto area because we all know that area is very expensive. Just for people listening, do you think how affordable is it with that kind of money?
My job was pretty much okay. Like I said, right, 1/3 of my pay goes towards my rent.
Mm-hmm.
So my job was pretty okay in terms of paying for that. Like, but then again, I found a place that's 20-minute drive away. And if I found something in Markham, just straight up in Markham, I would disagree. I would probably be paying 50% of my pay.
Yeah,
So I feel like if you go out, if you kind of go out towards your place, like if you go a couple, even a
you're
city,
probably gonna need
I'll
a car,
go.
is what you're saying, right? Or like
You'll
use
definitely need a car,
TTC.
yeah, or yeah, or GCC. But if you go like Scarborough or somewhere out there, not bad. But if you go core of the GTA, I would say that like even my job won't be enough. Like I can't be living in Toronto, like downtown Toronto, and be working my job. That's no way. I would go broke.
Okay, so we've talked about your past, present. Let's talk a little bit about your future. What do we got lined up for the next year, maybe two?
So, well, after talking about my manager, now what I'm trying to look at is just and finish off my degree, get that diploma, and then hopefully message my manager again and have them take me back in and continue working the exact same thing that I do every day that I've been doing for the past 8 months. Well,
Paid a little
obviously, I'll
more,
be
of
doing more
course.
stuff. Huh?
Paid a little more, of course.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. Needs to be, or else
I love how internships just boil down to you being a junior developer but paid less and on other
that's
stuff.
literally what my job is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do everything they do, but I get paid less.
Yeah, so we have how many courses left at our degree?
I have 15 left. I'm very far behind. Yeah,
You're still on schedule considering you've done
in
now.
terms of
That's your
yeah,
third term, yeah.
third. Yeah, that's my third term. Yeah, in terms
Yeah.
of schedule, I'm there.
So, is there anything you're excited for in these? Like what is 15 courses? Like a year and a half? Anything exciting happening?
Definitely not 454.
454 is
Definitely not that, but
our
that is,
advanced algorithm proof class. So yeah.
that is my nightmare. I would say I think there's like a project course. Excited for that or
Okay.
research. I'm trying to I kind of want to do research. So I can try to get research done with.
You trying to get research done because you want to, or is it because masters or something in that area?
No, I just want to try it, see how it is, and
Mm,
I'm pretty sure it qualifies for one of those courses. If not, then yeah,
yeah, it
project.
does.
Try to get something done,
Yeah.
make something. Yeah, so there's that.
Uh, let's talk a little more about CSS since everyone who's been on this podcast up until now, second episode, so like three of us, have all been
Yeah.
from CSS, right? If you're at the University of Windsor or whatever university, or even if like you're not even like, for example, in school right now, you would probably look into clubs online or like
But
free open source projects or something like that. But if you're in a university or at a college and you're looking to get involved, how could you? You know.
well, you could look up on their websites. Like every university has their own website. Probably they have like club websites. So you could look into that. Try to find some club. Try to find if they have like for us we have the CSS Discord,
Yep.
and then what you learn a bunch of stuff from there. And that's based on remote stuff. Like this is like COVID stuff. Now. If you're
Mm-hmm.
obviously going back to in person, so in person it's just gonna be much easier. You're gonna be like on campus, and you'll see like I remember me and you when we used to walk around in CAW, we would see those like posters. A bunch of people just they would have tables set up, and they would have like a bunch of clubs. Remember, we even wanted to join some of them.
Yeah.
So there's that. Like when you're in person, it's out there. You will
Yeah.
most definitely not miss it. It's remote, it's online where you're gonna miss it. So it's online where you have to do that extra work and go online, whatever university you're at. They 100% have like resources that you can look at in terms of getting into
And if
clubs.
you can't find something that you're into, maybe
Yeah,
take this as inspiration. Like, start your own version of the Computer Science Society.
exactly.
Like this stuff might have been around a while for us, but it only picked up like in the past 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah,
So
obviously, if you can, you should have. Yeah, make something your own. Started.
yeah, be the change you want to see, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
uh, okay, so once you're graduated, do you have like an end goal in terms of career? I'm guessing you don't want to be test developer from age 22 when you graduate to like age 60.
If I truly love it, I honestly won't mind. But I do want to like try to. I'm thinking test developer a couple of years, maybe try something else, go up the rank and into software development. And if
Okay,
I
so
don't
you
like
do
software
at some
development,
point want to go into software development.
I want to try it because I haven't tried it yet. So I definitely
Yeah.
want to try it. And if I don't like it, then go back into testing. I know I love tests. Like I can see myself doing this 9 to 5 every day.
Is there
I
anything
can.
you can say about NetInt as a company?
I would say that um, they're good in terms of a challenge. If you want a challenge, and if you truly want something, if you want to learn something, if you want a job where you're constantly being pushed, but not pushed to the point where you're breaking down, I would say that's the company because in terms of work, there's always going to be work. You are not one. There won't be a single day that you're sitting around and you're like, oh, I have no work. Nope, never gonna happen. Your mentor will constantly assign you tickets. Like me, I finish a ticket and I'll have a couple already ready for me. So, and some people think of that as too much work and overload, but they're nice too. So they manage that. Like if obviously they're not gonna like kill you with tickets. After a while, they tell you that are you doing okay? Do you want us to like take some away from you? They have that there. The work life balance there's wow,
Okay, so
nothing crazy.
let's talk a little more before I end this. I know you have some stuff to do, and so do I guess. Uh,
Yeah.
so if I'm a first year, second year, I guess, like, and I'm kind of insecure about what I know, I'm not. I don't think I'm ready to apply to internships. Oh, is there any advice you can give?
I feel like even if you don't know what you want to do, or if you don't know what to do, I say still apply. Do the way that I did it. Just throw everything out there, catch whatever the first thing you land, just say yes to it. Right? Try it out. Because the first internship, that one you can consider it as your trying one, your tryout. If it's good, amazing. If it's bad, don't be too like heartbroken over it. It'll at least tell you, or it'll give you a hint. It'll most definitely give you a hint in what you like. Because as for me, like I hated IT, so it gave me a hint that hey, I don't like IT, so I went into the coding side.
Yeah.
But you could be different. For you it could be a hint of I love IT. So it'll definitely give you a hint. I feel like saying that I don't want to apply to internships, that's not really the best idea because you'll miss out. Like you can't lose here. You're gonna take a win from whatever
So,
internship you get.
are there like specific concepts you'd say to make sure you know before you apply, or at the point where you're second year, if you kind of have average grades in like at least the developing class or the coding classes, you should be fine.
Yeah, and it also depends on like if you on your own do stuff. Like if you're on your own doing things like you're making stuff, you're dealing with stuff, then you'll have a better idea. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're like how I was too after high school, you pretty much didn't do anything and you're just taking courses, you won't really have an idea. You might, still possible, but chances are you won't have much of an idea until you try something. That trying will get you the idea.
And for those people who are right now, it's probably around now for fall internships. They're in grind hell. They're knee deep in applications. You got any words of wisdom?
I would say that even if it's hopeless and you're getting those rejections, like I was getting every single day, keep it going because there will be that one person or that one recruiter, that one company that's going to give you that chance. It's gonna happen. As hopeless as it seems sometimes, it's gonna happen. So I would say definitely don't stop the grind. Keep it going. And while you're doing that grind, do something on the side to add to your resume.
Yeah,
That never hurts.
it's very valuable. Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, Usman. Is there anything you want to shout out, or anyone you want to shout out?
Um, ready to go up. I would just say that keep up the grind if you're applying and keep
No one to
working.
shout out at all.
Shout out you.
Sorry, your
Who
mic.
would I shout out?
Who?
Right there.
No, who are you? Like, who are you shouting out? Like, you know, the interview's ending, or oh, dude, your mic is gone, bro.
Is that bad? Horrible?
Oh, okay, okay. I'll cut that part out. Let's just
Yeah.
take it back. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the interview is coming to an end. Usman, is there anyone you want to shout out to the audience?
Uh,
Anyone you look
no,
up
not
to?
really. Oh, okay. Anyone I look up to? Say Gandhi.
Gandhi.
I always look up to Gandhi.
All right. Look up to Gandhi. Shout out Gandhi. Uh,
To Gandhi. Yeah.
any closing words? Anything I missed that you wanted to talk about?
No, nothing that come across my mind. I think we pretty much covered a lot of stuff today.
All right, so that was TCA this episode, or what week would this be? This would be the first July episode. Nice. This is the second episode of TCM with Usman. Hope we can return in a couple months, maybe years. Come back with this. Thanks for having it. Thanks for being on the show.
To be here.
All right. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks from now, where we'll have another guest.